somebody, for you to be, let's even say 100,000 barrels that is being stolen at $70 per day. You are losing 100,000 barrels at $70 per day. That is even not just an economic threat, it's also a threat to national security. Because if somebody has such an amount of money, he can do anything to undermine government. So what will government do? First of all, government need to arrest and address whoever is behind those Kudoye theft. But we all know that Kudoye theft, powerful people are behind it. Then you ask yourself, the second thing you also need to ask yourself is, what is the main challenge facing the average Nigerian right now? For you to have cost of living skyrocketing, the main engine room is the movement of goods and services, which is transportation. It's not just about federal government. Let's ask ourselves, what are the state governors doing? It's a failure of governors at all tiers of the federation. Federal government, state government, and local government, they've both failed in addressing the challenges that Nigerians are facing. Now, it is not the responsibility of federal government to provide local transportation to move people from point A to point B. There is no single state that you say have a wholly designed transport system management in the federation. And yet we all know that subsidy is going to go. And the first place where subsidy goes that will take the hit is transportation. 70% of people's monthly wage right now goes into transportation. So what is the state government or the local government doing? From the advent of this administration, the revenue accruing to state and local government has doubled. So if the revenue has doubled, has the services being provided to the citizenry by the state and local government, has their life also gotten better? So those are questions we need to ask ourselves.
Okay, so we're picking up on the NARTO strike, which is now suspended. And we've got two gentlemen joining us to discuss that this morning. The president of NATO is here, Yusuf Othman, and sitting beside him is Aliyu Audu, Special Assistant to the President on Public Affairs. Good morning, gentlemen. Thank you for coming on today. Mr. Othman, well, we have read your comment about why you threatened to go on strike to stop lifting products as you directed your members. But maybe you should give us a little bit of a background, what you intended to achieve with that strike.
Okay, thank you so much. As you know, our business is movement of petroleum product and other goods and services. Now, coming to the petroleum product, hitherto, during the subsidy regime, government pays the transportation through the Petroleum Equalization Fund, that is Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Regulatory Agency. Now, subsidy is gone, meaning that the marketers will have to take responsibility of moving product for themselves to their stations. So that has continued. One major problem is that since the subsidy left, there has been some outstanding payments from that May 29th to date that was owed to marketers who are also owing us, if not paid. So that is the responsibility of Nigeria Midstream and Downstream Regulatory Agency to ensure they are reconciled, paid to marketers, and they pay us. That's number one. Number two, the rate that were being paid currently was what was paid during that time. And I believe every Nigerian is aware of the developments in terms of the FX and the derivatives. You know, at that time we were paying diesel about 600 naira per liter. Today is 1,600. But it's not the responsibility of government. We are not protesting or fighting government in any case. We are buttressing our issues so that we get a succor, so that government can come in. I'm aware also the marketers have their issues. But the truth of the matter is that somebody somewhere has to bring a solution. A lot of our members have packed, and they are gradually packing, most of them, because this is a business that we're doing. And for you to do business, you must have returns. If there are no returns, you will not do it. So it's a wake-up call to our members and to everybody. such that to reach a time when there will not be even anybody doing it, because there's no gain. So as much as we clamor for an increase into our freight rate, it's a wake-up call. Because, let me give you an example. To transport petroleum product officially direct within Lagos Embarrass or Port Harcourt Embarrass, we call it local. The amount payable is 3 naira 14 kobo. Some marketers even pay 4 naira per liter. So if you have 40,000 liter truck, you are paid 4 naira times 40,000, which is 160,000. And that is subject to 5% withholding tax. As of today, if you give that truck 100 liter of fuel to distribute within Lagos, that 100 liter of fuel is about 150,000.
Okay, so doesn't that also mean that you were also protesting as a result of the the freight rates and then the soaring prices of automatic gas oil?
Yes,
those were the issues.
Those were the issues. But it's not. It's the marketers that we wanted them, because we've engaged them severally.
You engage the marketers.
We engage the marketers
to address
to increase the freight rate in view of the current realities.
Okay, so the marketers didn't do that.
They've tried, but now they've responded, and it's a work in progress. In any case, they've responded. It's not yet to the level that is appreciated, but they are also suffering. So it's a win-win situation.
So did it matter to NATO that if NATO had embarked on that strike, it was going to affect the generality of Nigerians, because it will ultimately affect their probably movement, purchase, access to petrol and diesel, and ultimately probably the cost too. So it will affect a lot of people and not even improve that situation.
You're right, but whether NATO intervenes or NATO does not intervene, in the eyes of the public, behind the scene, a lot of people are packing. So it's just a wake-up call. A lot of people are packing. Because you need to do business, you need to have some return to do this. If you are not doing it, then what is the essence of it?
When you mean packing, you mean packing their truck?
Yes. Because, like I told you, you pay 200,000, for example, to do a service that will eventually be paid 160. How does that add up? It doesn't add up.
So wait, now that the strike is called off,
yes,
you're back to work immediately?
Yes.
So what changed?
Well, there is some improvement into the freight rate. And that is
increased?
Yes. And there is a promise of further improvement in view of the situation.
Who did it? Who increased it?
Of course, the marketers.
So is this...
The intervened, the NXA intervened in view of the prevailing situation.
Is this not eventually going to affect the price of petrol?
I do not think it will affect the price of the pump price you are talking about. It's not likely to affect the pump price, because what they do is that they look within their margins and make some sacrifices. It's very tough, really. But it is not, well, if it is going to affect pump price, by now you would have seen changes in pump price.
So did you talk to government before now and they refused to listen to you?
We have written to the marketers on 3 different occasions. They've responded, and in those our letters we have copied the relevant government authorities of predicament. And of course they are handicapped according to them, because this is more or less a commercial transaction. So government is just there, but then it's a commercial transaction. At a certain time, the arbiter, this is the midstream and downstream regulatory agency, has to come in to have some balance. And they've realized, sincerely, that it's practically impossible to operate as we are now. So there has to be a shift. And that shift is for the marketers to look within and see how they can improve. In fact, there are some marketers even who have gone up to the level of giving diesel at a cheaper rate with a view to ensure the fuel goes to certain destinations. They are doing it.
Well, I'm just a little still surprised as to how the market is functioning, because it was seen that much a subsidy has been taken away on petrol, even though we understand it is back now. I am sure Mr. Audu will speak to that. shortly. I don't know whether you've been looking at the headlines, and maybe we should actually come to you. But let me quickly, I just want to follow up on what it is. This is some of the comments that the NARTO chairman has already made, which is, it does seem that we're still operating under a subsidy-like environment, in the sense that the forces of demand and supply, or market forces, if you like, are not really what is influencing your own side of the business. Because ideally, it should be that marketers need to truck their products. If your rate is not working for me, I mean, you should ask the person, what is it going to cost for me to transport my stuff? If it's not working, and you find another person. But it doesn't seem like that's how it is. It does appear that there is still that cover. We're still trying to, let's say, free ourselves from the shackles of how we operated when subsidy was still very much in existence.
Well, I want to believe, officially, like Mr. President said, subsidy is gone, subsidy is gone. However, doing it is entirely in the hands of government. What I can say is that, the subsidy regime and change is a work in progress. Work in progress in terms of government, in terms of we, the down operators. They have a way of trying to perfect it. It will take time. Even the PIA that was approved, before it went to that level, there were some processes and some changes. So I believe it's a work in progress. Apart from moving of petroleum product, NATO, we move goods and services, other goods open body. And we price, and if you are okay, you pay, then we go.
Exactly. So it wasn't that this particular crisis was with petroleum marketers.
No, but in this case, the petroleum marketers, the rate payable, I'm telling you, was since Buhari time. And look at the market dynamics from Buhari time to now. We buy tire. The time we were buying tire during the Buhari time was about 75,000. Today is 240,000.
Okay, what I want to know right now is that I'm not disputing the fact that things have changed in the market. What share, if you're to look at your members, because you've just said that it's not only petroleum products that you truck, you also carry other goods across the country. So what share of the market, or what share of your would I say freighters carry other goods and services, and what share would you say is dedicated to petroleum products?
Well, I believe the petroleum product is not more than 30% of the whole coverage of goods and services that move out of the country. But this is a more volatile, and this is where even the other goods that we carry are dependent on the movement of the petroleum product, because they use it not only even the airlines, everybody rely 100% on, in the whole country rely 100% on movement because there is no pipeline. But the bottom line is that the rate payable has been static. You have just spoken that it is supposed to be determined by market forces, just like that. But this has been static because the margins and probably the pump prices are more or less regulated in a deregulated market. So there's a limit to what anybody could do in the circumstance. And I don't blame government, because every action government takes has a reason. Whether somebody likes it or not, there is a reason for any action. We expect it. So but all we are saying is that in the prevailing circumstance, the marketers should look at what we are spending vis-a-vis what we are being paid. There is some problem, and we need those problems addressed. I believe we have voiced our problems, and they have listened. Sincerely speaking, government, even though it's not a government problem, but government has come in, the second to the both parties, and I believe we shall progress.
Okay, I'm very let's say happy that you used the particular term regulation in a deregulated market, and that's precisely what we have. That's what's still causing. Some people say that's what's still causing distortions. Now, governments might argue and say, well, it's what is still giving us some stability, but stability at what cost? And maybe this what speaks to the planning that a number of people say should have happened before the announcement was made that subsidy was gone. So right now, with benefit of hindsight, looking at where we currently are, is government still thinking that maybe cat has already jumped out of the bag now. Maybe we cannot be crying over spilled milk. But do we now see why it was important to have planned for this?
I mean, we can't say enough that, we can't overemphasize the importance of planning. You know, that's important, but we equally understand that in the environment we find ourselves, we've got to be realistic that, you know, if Mr. President had not removed subsidy at when he did, you know, all of this conversation would probably be different now. You know, it would have been a lot more difficult to remove it. I mean, in all of this, we're all feeling the heat, we're all feeling the impact. I mean, it's called the perverse effect of otherwise good policy. We can't run away from the fact that it is expected that we go through this. However, we take solace from the fact that we've made the right decision. You know, it's going to cost us a bit of fever, a bit of headache, a bit of challenges here and there. We will, but we'll go through it and ensure we make the best out of it. Because either way, it wasn't that we had it all good before this decision was taken. You know, for years. Let's remember that whatever it is we are facing through now are things that Mr. President himself had expressed, you know, some 11, 12 years ago. You know, I mean, people would say when he was in the opposition, you learn every day. There are a lot of things that you know, sentiment are logic. You know,
we learn every day, but at what cost? That's a big question. At what cost? When a leader is learning, it usually means that mistakes have been made and sometimes lives have been lost. It's a big cost. You say we'll go through a bit of, but what is currently happening is not a bit. It's a lot of pains. When you look at the front pages this morning, dollar hits 1,900 naira, pound 2,250 naira. This is a reality that a number of people never saw coming, or would never have thought was even possible. I mean, I think worst case scenario, when people were imagining these things, they talked about how dollar could hit 1,000 naira. A number of people thought that was the worst that could happen. Now we're talking 1,900. It's unimaginable. So when one is really wondering if government has a solution. I think I deviate. There's a question I wanted to ask you, which is the fact that, I mean, you've been seeing the headline, subsidy is back. Is government going to admit that subsidy indeed is back?
No, let's take it from when Mr. President made the announcement. I mean, apart from what he said at the Eagle Square, when he addressed the nation and he talked about the removal of subsidy, when all of those interventions were announced, he did say something that maybe a lot of people didn't take seriously, but of course, he did say something that, you know, the government is monitoring situation and will intervene, you know, when required to. You know, he said this to the nation when he addressed the nation on this. It's, as much as we want these things regulated, you know, we understand the impact it's got on Nigerian citizens. Nobody is immune from the effect of all of this. So it is the responsibility of government at whatever time to ensure that, okay, while we are doing the right thing, we must ensure that, you know, we do not end up, you know, removing the market while we are trying to stabilize the market. I mean, if the people who who operate this market can't operate anymore because of the hardship caused by all of this, then it means we have no market to regulate. So it's the responsibility of government to intervene at, you know, any time or every time required to, so as to ensure that, you know, while we made the right turn, we've taken the right decision to address the impact that's coming with the right decision. Government still needs to ensure that, you know, we're not just pushing all of the impact on the citizen, as a lot of people would like to think. You know, no, it's a gradual thing. The biggest step is actually deciding to move away from one policy that does not entirely integrate us with the global practice. You know, we can't isolate we can't operate in isolation as a nation. So we're going to have to align ourselves with the global standards. While we're doing that, we understand that there are some local challenges that are going to, affect the lives and the livelihood and the welfare and security of the citizens. So it is the government responsibility to intervene in ways required that, okay, we're doing what we need to do. These are the impact that's coming up. We are handling in such a way that, we're not overly trying to be all, firm, and it's not, it's about the people. At the end of the day, and that's exactly what
I do not know if economists will say that what is happening with petrol is an intervention. I think some people would say that what has happened is a failure of the policy that government has come up with, and that's the reason why subsidy has come back in that sector. If you say intervention, I mean, like flotation of the naira now, when market forces are determining what they're determining, if the CBN were to say, oh, we're going to give the banks or BDCs, as it were, a certain amount of millions of dollars to stabilize the price or to crash the price, that will be an intervention. But a situation whereby backdoor government is somehow subsidizing and not even admitting that this is what it has done, then, there are big questions as to whether that is an intervention or a failure of an initial policy that has come up. But my colleague, Ayo, has questions for you.
Let me begin with what you just said now. There's a conversation you had, Malkwe, with Mr. Othman earlier, where he talked about regulation in a deregulated market. Mr. Audu, is that something you think is happening as well? That in one way or the other, government is regulating in a deregulated market so that the people do not feel the pinch too much?
I mean, it's not easy to place it. I mean, if you say trying to regulate a deregulated market, it's not exactly that. It's the fact that we know that we have an economy that has been built on a particular system or in a particular way over the decades, and it's got. We have a culture that has been designed around how we used to operate. Changing, isn't going to just happen, and we don't expect side effect. Part of managing change, the change management, is a call on government to intervene in such a way that the main goal of regulation isn't lost. The regulation isn't lost while we are trying to, ensure that we do not kill the economy. We do not, act as if we do not understand the impact this has got on the economy or the livelihood of citizens. Whether we like it or not, regulation is all for the betterment of the citizen. If at any point in time we know where we're going, to get there we need to carry everybody along. We need to move together. If there are things on the side of the government that needs to be done as we move in that direction, then it's got to be done. That's what government is doing.
I find it interesting that you use that term that we know where we are going. That government knows where it is going, and you also said that government needs to carry the people along. Well, permit me to use the example of the Israelites living in the land of Egypt. It was clear where they were going, a land flowing with milk and honey. Even that was not easy for the people to bear. There were a lot of stops on the way, but they had an idea where they were going, a land flowing with milk and honey. Where is Nigeria going? What is the vision of this government? What is the vision of the political class? It's a question many Nigerians are still asking. I don't know if you can offer an answer to that, but let me ask you this one. When you said the other time that, there was some plan, Imakwe asked you, was there a plan? And you said, that there was some kind of plan, that you cannot underestimate the situation of planning, particularly because Mr. President announced that subsidy was gone. Was it this president that announced that the subsidy was gone? Because what we understand was that the previous government said that subsidy will still be subsistent until about June of last year. So when this president announced that subsidy was gone, he was merely reiterating what was the stand at the time. So are you saying that the previous government that announced that they had removed subsidy, but that it'll terminate in June, had no plan on ground?
The situation changed. In the last 12 months of previous government, a lot changed. Let's be honest. And like we said, the last government is our responsibility. This government is our responsibility, and as a government, all of the previous governments are our responsibility because we are in charge now. It's sometimes when we try to make explanation to the citizen, it isn't about passing the blame, or it's about putting things in perspective in a way that we all understand where we've been, what has happened, what needs to change, what can't continue, and what can't continue. And you have to make references, to previous. It's not, as at the time Mr. President came in, it was clear that by the plan he has for what he intended to do, what he requested for this job. I mean, he had a plan. His team has got a plan requested for this job, irrespective of what's on ground. If we are to integrate, to play fairly and efficiently in the global market, we have to play by the standards that the global market players are playing with. Over the years, over the decades, we've taken sentiments and over logic. We have to move into where we ought to play, and this requires that we play by the rules. The last government probably had reasons, for not removing it as at when they didn't remove it. But the coming of Mr. President knew we have to do what we have to do, however difficult it is. And that is why we have confidence in Mr. President, because at some point the leader's going to make the tough calls. It's not going to be easy. We can't have it. If it's that good and we want it to be good, then we know anything good isn't going to come easy.
I'm not sure you are answering my question, Mr. Audu. My apologies. I'm not sure that you're answering the question. I'm just asking whether there was a plan on ground by the previous government who announced that there is some provision until June in the budget of 2023 for subsidy. The president came, President Tinubu came and announced subsidy is gone. It doesn't sound like he was saying that subsidy is gone because I'm now removing it. His previous statement actually said, well, the previous government made such an arrangement, consequently subsidy is gone. So the question that I'm asking is, was there a plan by the previous government that this government inherited to ensure that this subsidy regime that has been removed does not bite too hard on the people?
The previous government expiration was the 29th of May, and if the allocation for subsidy was until June, which was just a few days after that, that in itself is a plan. The government who has come in looked at the plan and look at how this subsidy has been maintained over the decades. I mean, there was a process that wasn't exactly the best prior to that June preparation for the removal. We can keep pushing, that for as long as we want to, but someone at some point is going to take the bull by the horn and say, okay, this is what we did. It is no longer realistic for us to keep doing what we've been doing, hoping to get a different result. We've got to change strategy. And that's exactly where we are. But we have a culture where we are changing strategy. We had a culture that is being built around the previous system. It's going to take a bit of time to turn that around. Yes, there was a plan. Yes, there is a plan. But the plan itself isn't, it's not a magic wand. It's not like a switch that you put on and off. It's a process. It's going to take time. It's going to take planning. It's going to take implementation. And implementation is through an existing system that we largely accept is flawed. All of this will come in. This is exactly what the responsibility of the current government is. Take over everything the last government has done, plus and minus, and move forward with it in the direction that fits into where we want to be and how to get there in the quickest period of time.
Othman, a part of the conversation that you had, your response to Malpo's question, was in the line of, the federal government calling a meeting and everyone sitting down. When she asked you exactly what it was Chamberlain, I was asking what has changed. You said that there's been a shift by the marketers. So what was the federal government's contribution to that intervention, to this resolution that has seen to NATO lifting its ban or its strike, or suspending its strike?
First of all, the federal government invited us, and they had the issues on table. And they also invited the marketers. They also had marketers issue on table, and marketers promised to, of course, look at our requests. So at the end of the day, we met somewhere. And there was, at that time, need for us to look at especially the security situation of the country, which was reiterated by the NSA as well as the Minister of Petroleum Gas and other relevant government officials. So we had no choice than to, of course, resume the normal operations. In any case, it is not in our interest to stop operations because that is our daily bread. Any day we stop operation, we lose money, and we have a lot of boys everywhere, and of course, to bring a lot of chaos to already existing chaos that is happening in the country. So by and large, it's a call for them to look at our payment, and they have listened, and they have promised, and of course, they promise to continue to look at the payment as the situation goes on.
Was there any contribution, financial contribution or palliative to you, to your association, or to the marketers? Because as you said, it's a business. No one wants to lose money. The PIA says it's a deregulated market. Well, there are those who believe it's not completely deregulated. So was there any financial intervention, any contribution from the federal government, maybe to you or to the marketers, that helped to resolve this strike so quickly?
Well, there is actually no financial contribution from the point of government. The only thing is that there are outstanding payments belonging to the marketers, and of course, some of those payments that belong to the marketers also belong to some of us. So there is a promise to make immediate payment of those outstanding payments. Government does not have any plan in any way to inject anything into this commercial transaction. The only thing government can do is to intervene to avoid rancor, and that's exactly what they've done.
Is it true that, the union squeezes members? Because there might be some members who will feel, look, we don't have to join this strike. And so if they don't join the strike, the union will muscle them and ensure that everybody joins the strike.
Well, that's not to my knowledge. I want to believe anybody that is operating within the system, like I've just said, nobody wants to operate at a loss. We are doing into business to get money. If you send me to do a business for you or to do an errand for you, you pay me 100 naira and I go and spend 150 naira. Naturally, whoever is doing that knows is operating at a loss. You don't have to be told to park or to, in fact, we've been begging them to manage and continue to operate in view of the circumstance. And it is better for the government or whoever that somebody that you have a focal point you are talking to in case of any trouble than for everybody to go astray.
Let me find out from you quickly, for the other goods which you ferry across the country, have their prices, have their rates changed?
Yes, of course. They reflect the market forces.
What kind of goods, by the way?
Grains, some container, some buses. I'm sure if you know, some buses from Jabi to several places, you know, is the market forces at the time, and you pay instant. In fact, some people will have to receive a lot, even if we have MIPS. But our own, and it is choice that we have been doing. Our own. I have some places that I have worked since December, and I have not received payment. But I'm comfortable with the company because we have history. You understand? Then it's okay. In fact, some of the companies, like I said, they give us fuel at a discounted rate. But it's whether discount or not, it's not fuel that is only our problem. We have other companies. We have tire that has gone up. We have battery. We have a lube. You know, even the truck itself, before now, the Tokumbo vehicle is about 25 million. I hope you understand what I mean by Tokumbo. Okay.
Because she looks like she should be.
Yeah, yes. So, you know.
Well, I look like I might not know what second hand is.
No, I just want to remind you what I know Tokumbo. So, in any case, brand new one now.
Yes.
If you ask Larry Shitu and whatever, it's about 70 million naira.
And the Tokumbo one costs how much?
Tokumbo is about 25 to 30 million. Just the head. When you add the tank, it's about the time is about 25 billion. Why is $7 is a lot of money? But somebody has to do it. We realize the motto of NATO is service to the nation. Irrespective of the fact that it's a commercial transaction, we have realized today fuel is distributed across the country by trucks, no pipelines. So if there is no pipeline, somebody has to do it. We could not afford to continue this action for more than 1, 2, 3 days.
All right, we need to go. Ali, could you tell us, with all of these things going on, of course you have people who keep asking the question, is government really, do they really understand what we're faced with? Do they have it in control?
Yes. I mean, I can tell you that there are meetings going on day and night, and there are a lot of people putting heads together and ensure that you know, the current situation is addressed to ensure we keep. I mean, it's not easy to ask for patience from people who have been patient over a long period of time without result. Government understand, Mr. President understand, and the team understand that we are not excluded from the system. We are part of the system. We must, you know, collectively understand that, like we know. Take away the subsidy removal, take away the unification of the FX policy. We all, for those who know, you know, it's easy for us to try to echo the sound bites of people who do not know. You know, not everybody who speaks actually know where we are. We are not in existence by ourselves. We are not in existence in isolation.
All right.
So the system understands, the government understands, the president understands, but why we have taken this bold step, we have seen the side effects. We have seen impact. Going back isn't an option. So all we are doing as the government is trying to now carry everybody on board, make it easier for all of us while we head in the direction that we need to head.
I think the response from people overall, I think, will be, above all else, they need to be seen to be walking the talk. So that's what's up at the moment. Well, Ali Adu is the Special Assistant to the President on Public Affairs. We also have had Mr. Yusuf Othman, the President of NATO. Thank you both for coming on today.
Thank you for having me. My pleasure.
Well, the figures, I think they may be looking south, but who knows? When they all go north, I don't know what business might come up with. That's what's coming up on the top of the hour at the moment with Ini.